Alright, hello and welcome everyone, Stormy Sensei here. This stream, I'm not going to be playing any games, but we will be discussing how we played the game over the past year. So every summer, and by that I mean for the last 2 summers, I host a series of tournaments over on Challenge, and I stream them here on YouTube. And I invite the people from my community through Discord and through the YouTube chat. And we play in just standard tournament, you know, double elimination, best of 3s, best of 5s, you know, good old-fashioned bracket. So basically we run weekly every single summer. And last year we had some mixed results. This year we had some mixed results, but the accumulation of all the sets and games and whatnot come together to form what's known as a power ranking. So for those of you that don't know, in every facet of Smash, whether you're talking about your high school, your college, your state, your city, even your collection or your region of the state, usually when there's enough people that play often enough, then they have what's called a power ranking. And what it basically is just an ordered list of how strong the players in your region happen to be. So for example, you could say something like MKLeo is the best player in the world. And the reason why we do this is most because humans like categorizing things, but also it also kind of helps with things like knowing when an upset happens. Like, wow, it's really impressive that, this person is able to beat this other person because this person is ranked so highly in the world. And also it's a lot of fun. So we're going to have some fun today. I have made a spreadsheet, just like I did last year, and it's going to show us all the information that we need in order to come to a conclusion about who the best player in the Stormy Sensei community is. Now, I made a spreadsheet last year as well, but it's nothing compared to the spreadsheet I made this year. Also, for some reason, I'm not able to see my chat in YouTube. I have to see it in chat in Streamlabs, which is fine because I can't actually watch my own YouTube chat while also showing you the spreadsheet anyway. So that's convenient. We're also going to play some music in the background because we're not going to actually be playing any games, so there won't be any game music. Alright, you guys should now hear the music, and I'll put that up here. And it's probably not going to display most of the time because I think that, and maybe if I go into dark mode, if that's even a thing. Let me set that up real quick. Am I able to see this in dark mode? That is not a thing. Oh, accessibility maybe? Nope, that's not what I need. Those are things like screen readers and whatnot, which are reasonable, but not really what I was looking for. Oh well, that's alright. Oh wait, settings maybe? Nope, that's not what I want either. Okay, that's fine. It'll just have to be as it is. Alright, so this is the spreadsheet. So it looks very similar to the 2021 power rankings. It has all the same tabs, which makes sense because it has all the same information. Actually, this tab is technically different from last time. So I went through and I gathered all the information for all the various tournaments and put them into the spreadsheet. So I transcribed all the placements. That was the most difficult part, technically. And then I made a couple of formulas so that I could see what the highest placement every player got, their average placements, their best and worst placements, and their average placement. Then I sorted the list on average placement. and then I use that in order to come up with the rest of the information. So just like last year, we have the head-to-head sets and the head-to-head games, because just your placements don't really mean much. For example, if I get, 33rd at a tournament, but that tournament had 10,000 players, that's pretty impressive. Even if I got, 17th, but there were only 19 players, for example. So that's why placements alone don't really matter much. Now, granted, most of these tournaments actually had about the same number of participants. So they ranged from 5 participants up to 11. Number 22 being our most active tournament, and our least active one being number 17. The ones where I didn't participate personally, which means I didn't stream it or advertise it, also were the ones that got fewer participants usually. And then also number 24 was a little weird because I changed the time. Like that one happened to be earlier in the day. So if people were waiting until like 1, I think we actually had the tournament at 11 that day or something like that. And so we can also see the total number of unique participants, which is 23. Compared to last year, I don't know what it was last year, but there are 25 people that did not participate this year that did participate last year. It is what it is, it's fine. We got a good number of new people though. We got Demon here. We got Ren Swo. Actually, Ren participated last year, I believe. Zero Free participated for the first time. Mr. Puffy, CGP, and Litopia. Ibit, Jacksonian Dante. Yeah, that's what we got so far. Let me open up this thing so I can actually see what chat is saying here so far. What is the ultimate power rankings? Well, I've been talking about it this whole time, but we play Super Smash Brothers, and every summer, I call it the Summer of Smash. We host tournaments every week, and then based on the placements at those tournaments, we make a power ranking. So power ranking is just like the order in which who's the best in the community, who's the worst. Actually, we don't go that far down. We don't really care who's the worst in the community. We just really mostly care who's the best. I've entered every tournament except for 1. I'm noticing that now. We had 10 total tournaments this year, and Ali Pi was in 9 of them. Lil Game was in 8. And then we had a 3-way tie for next, which is M Destroyer, RSB, and myself, participating in 7 of them. Not too bad. These are pretty good. Got a lot of participation here. I would say that in order to even be considered ranked, you're gonna need to have at least 2 entries. And there were a lot of people that only had 1. So we would get rid of someone like CGP, Litopia, I believe. Just waiting for everything to catch up. And Jacksonian's out. Jose is out. Jay is out, I think. Is that true? I could probably actually put a filter in here, but that's okay. Chomper is the first person that is eligible, so I can just erase everyone that's not above Chomper. Interesting. John Dura only participated 1 time? Very interesting. John Dura actually ended up being top 4 last year. And then everyone between Lil Game and RSB get thrown out. Alright, and then I think Litopia is the only one that needs to be erased outside of that. So that's what this is here now. So here comes where the work comes in, right? So as I mentioned before, just your placements don't matter that much. What really matters is who you beat, and even more importantly, who you lose to. Who you lose to is usually like the determining factor for rankings, not just on this community, but also like if you talk about melee rankings or really any ranking system anywhere. You're on vacation for the start of the season? Man, your one missed tournament, that's funny. Maybe next year we'll have someone that participated in everything. Like last year, Chomper participated in all but one of the tournaments. And this year, Pi participated in all but one of the tournaments. Alright, so I had to go through all of the rankings. Not all the rankings, I had to go through all of the sets and add them to this database. And this is quite the database. So, this is the exciting part about this. This is like, it's gonna make everything so easy in the future. Every year, like last year, I had to like look at the bracket and then like see, okay, well this tournament went 3-1, so let me add 3 to the number that's already here, and then let me add a 1 to the number that's next to it. And that's a lot of pain. That's so much pain. Because sometimes I would like forget where I was and like, did I already add this one? I would double count some things. And there were a lot of mistakes in last year's spreadsheet. But this year, I used formulas instead. So now I just go over to this column here, and let's say that, you know, I wanted to say that Stormy Sensei lost 3-2 to Stormy Sensei over here. So now I just go into the spreadsheet here, and then I say, you know, example, and then I say Stormy lost or beat Stormy Sensei 3-2. And now it takes a while because it actually is doing the formulas and whatnot. I go back up to the top. Okay, maybe the 0-0 doesn't work because it doesn't make any sense for that. Let's do someone that makes more sense here, right? So let's do a more realistic thing. So Sonic versus me. Let's pretend that we have another set with me. Oh wait, actually, it just took so long because of the calculations. So now I have me versus me, and then there's the form is kind of goofy because I'm in both the winner and the loser's side. Oh, it's recurring. Let me stop that. It's going to go on forever. But basically, that's kind of the gimmick here. So now I can just put in things in this one spreadsheet. And then it takes a while because it's calculating everything for every single tournament set all at once. Or for all tournament sets all at once. And then it resets everything. Yep, and there's that update. It used to be 0-2, and now it's 2-5. It's wonderful. I love it. Alright, we get rid of that. And you can see that it takes quite a while for it to update, but it's still way easier than what I was doing before. And I can just like add things as the tournaments happen even. Like if I stay on top of it, I could very easily just like on the day or the week after we actually finish the tournament sets, just do the rankings. That's why I'm very excited about the stuff. And if you're curious on like how to do stuff like that, it's just some Excel magic. You got to do things like sum ifs and count ifs, where you basically just say, look in this column, and you know the set count is the number of times where the person in column A is the person that's on the row, and the person in column B is the person in the column. Pretty straightforward stuff. It's like 2 Google searches, all it took. All right. So now for the actual going into the rankings. I went ahead and color coded the set counts. Like, I actually did not know ahead of time who would have been eligible, but I think I got everyone that would have been eligible, plus a couple of extras. Like, let's see. There should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people highlighted. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Who am I missing? Rin Swo. I did not actually update Rin's. I didn't highlight Rin Swo. But I think that that's fine, because there's no way that they're going to be in top 3 anyway. They have wins over Husky and Lil Game, which is actually kind of impressive. So it's actually interesting because you can actually look, and it's very easy to tell who your best and worst losses are. Because basically you don't want to lose to anyone to the right of you, or to the right of the black bars, because the spreadsheet is sorted based off of your average placings. So if on average you place higher than someone that's below you, then losing to them is kind of a big deal. But it's not exactly exact, because technically it should be ranked, it should be sorted based off of an actual ranking, and then like you should already have the ranking kind of in place, and then do this coloring based off of that. Like, for example, last year Pi was 3rd in the community or something like that. Oh, also CGP actually is not eligible, so I shouldn't have necessarily colored his stuff, but that's okay. Who am I actually missing then? Chomper, maybe? Yeah, Chomper. I'm missing Chomper. Chomper and Bryn. And I did not need to highlight CGP. Yeah, so having even like a 1 in any of these columns means that you're losing to someone that is technically, or like officially, quote unquote, or numerically worse than you are. So you don't really want to have any red this far out. So for example, Zero Free only participated in 1 tournament and did only okay, but RSB lost to that person the 1 time that they played. So that's his worst loss. Low Game's worst loss is against Rin. Ibit's worst loss is against Sophia Lockhart. M Destroyer's worst loss is against Lil Game. Yep. What else we got here? Rin's worst loss is to Zero Free as well. Not that it matters, but it's there. RSB's worst loss is Zero Free. Yep, we already did that one. Ibit's worst loss, Sophia, that's not so bad. Somic's worst loss. Actually, I'm surprised. Somic does not have many bad losses here. Wait, who even beat Somic? Okay. Now that's a good record. You know, that is like, you beat the people that you're supposed to beat, and you lose the people you're supposed to lose to. That's a pretty good record there. M Destroyer's worst loss was Lil Game, right? I think I said that already. Yeah. And actually, this is like really bad. It's almost like like a lower ranked player being your bracket demon, which happens sometimes. You know, character matchups sometimes, or just like player counters, like their playstyle count as your playstyle, for example. Pi's worst lost. Lil Game. Oh, when did that happen? I like that. Good job, Lil Game. Logan has some like surprisingly good wins, like beating Pi and M Destroyer here, even having a winning record over M Destroyer, and a set off of RSB. And then CGP doesn't matter. My worst loss. Is probably Mr. Puppy. Yeah. But also, I actually literally have a losing record to Mr. Puppy. I never lost a Lil game. Let's take a look at the data set here. There should be a thing here where Lil game beat you. I guess this is the, oh no, this is actually still easier to find. Except that it's just like, it's so slow to load because there's so many calculations in here. I'm just gonna search this way. Alright, so this should be, I'm gonna plug in my mouse even because that should make things a little easier here. So there are 19 of these. So we only need to find where Lil Game is the winner on one side. And number 24, he beat you 2-1. That's what it says in the spreadsheet at least. 24 was the last one, wasn't it? And then you came back and beat me twice? Very last bracket. Alright, let's take a look at the spreadsheet again, or not the spreadsheet, let's look at challenge here. It's very possible that there are mistakes in here. But then why do I have you in loser's bracket though? '24 was the last one that I did. Yeah, 3-0, undefeated. So that's definitely for sure. Let's see what we got though. I had you as being defeated for some reason. What was I even looking at? Okay. Let's correct all this. So, number 4. 24. Number 4 actually had it the other way around. Easily done. And the great thing is that automatically updates everything. Except kinda, not really, because I do need to actually copy this cell over. Because in order to do the formatting, I had to copy this over directly. That's the game count anyway. I don't really care that much about the game count, but I'll update that as well. So that should be 12.2. And this is probably it here. Yeah, this is it, 5-0. Head-to-head sets should be 5-0. Somehow there was like an extra set in there anyway. I don't really know how that happened. Unless it's actually 6-0 and it's just waiting for it to update. That's a pretty good record then. Yeah, not losing really to anyone that you should be losing, that you should not be losing against. Yeah, it is actually 6-0. It just took a while for it to finish calculating because it's a really big formula. Now, the next step for all this, by the way, I don't know if I'm going to get there, but you can go into the log here, and it keeps track of who reported what score. So it'll say something like Stormy Sensei reported a 3-2 win for Pi over Stormy Sensei, right? So if you had a program that could, you know, just take this string and then just say, well, this is the games won by the winner, this is the number of games won by the loser, this is the winner, this is the loser. You know, you could literally just copy paste this whole page and just paste it into the spreadsheet, and then you would basically have to do no work. You would just, you know, copy paste, however many tournaments there are. You wouldn't be able to get it wrong for another thing, and then it would just kind of automatically do everything for you. The only issue mostly with this, by the way, is the fact that people change their names. So in order for something like this to work, every single time Radioactive Spider Boy plays in a tournament, he has to be Radioactive Spider Boy. Every time, you know, I Like Pie plays in a tournament, he has to be Pie, or he has to be something. He has to be the same thing every time. So that's the thing where that breaks down, and then you had to kind of massage the data a little bit. But, you know, ideally, so since I'm a programmer by trade, I actually know how I would deal with this. In the real world, I would just actually make a literal database, and I would register participants to it, and then you would have an ID, a unique ID, and then your name would be separate from it, and then I would link everything up based off of the ID of the user, and then I would have like reverse lookup tables to say like, oh, if this is this name, this is the user ID, or, you know, it would basically be a really good SQL database at that point. Alright, so that's all the sets, and then let's look at the games. It should be updated now, by the way. Or the games tab is not going to be updated. But the games are also interesting, because like you can see when it's like close. Like you could have a losing record over someone in terms of sets, but you could like be up on games, which just means that, you know, you got a couple of 2-0s, but then you got like some 2-1s lost in your favor over time. So like M Destroyer versus Sonic is very close. Yeah, same with Mr. Puffy and M Destroyer, even though pretty sure that both of those are strong records though. Yeah, 2-1 and then 1-3. So they're like really close in games, but like it's really bad in terms of sets. Let me just make sure that everything's like correct here, by the way, because I need to copy the number of games between low game and pi here. It's 13 and 1. Little game is down here somewhere. And I actually could use a formula to make these cells come directly from the other cells on the other spreadsheet. It's a little easier to do in actual Microsoft Excel. It's pretty difficult to do in Google Sheets. Like, it's not as powerful as Microsoft Excel. Alright, any other corrections in chat right now? Nope, no one else. Cool, cool. Welcome back, little game. Your record got technically worse during this stream. Your best wins are no longer Pi, but rather M Destroyer. Still a pretty good win. And also you have a win on RSB, which is pretty good as well. Alright, and so, let me zoom out a little bit here. Glad that we got everything correct here. Oh, this is not zooming out, is it? No, it's not zooming out. How do I zoom out more? It's just scrolling. There we go. This actually makes it so that all of the relevant matchups are here. I could probably, am I able to just like double click this? You're able to just double click this and it just works in Excel. Nope. Oh, it actually did work. Okay. My poor computer. Trying to run this at the same time. There we go. So now you can see even more information. So you want to not have any red on the top half. And those are kind of like blemishes on your record. And really, I should have just marked anything that was a loss, where you had a loss at all up here as the blemish, because it really doesn't matter that much that you have a winning record unless you have like, you know, you could go like 20 and 1, sure, and like if you play someone enough times, then eventually they're going to get a win. But generally you want to stay consistent, because the whole concept of a power ranking, which I never really got around to actually bringing up, is let's say that everyone participates in a tournament, which actually is a thing that can happen in these small YouTube community power rankings, but usually isn't a thing that happens in like actual regions or in the whole world. Like there's no way that every single smasher in the entire world enters one tournament on a day, or even over a weekend, or even a week, because traveling, and there's some people that are just so small and not really part of the community and whatnot. So the idea is everyone participates in a tournament. What is their percent likelihood that they're going to be number one? They're going to win that tournament. And so if you have someone that, you know, wins a lot, but occasionally gets last place in a tournament, then that's a mark of inconsistency. Or it doesn't even have to be like last place. It could just be like, you know, a mix of first through fifth. You know, that's not as consistent as someone that gets, you know, mostly first. Or even someone like you might consider some people would consider this important. Like, if you had a person that got second place every single tournament, and then you had two people that each got, like, alternated between getting first and third, then there's an argument that maybe all three of them could be considered, like, have some claim for number one, because obviously the person that gets second every time has some amount of wins over everybody that keeps on getting first, but also has some losses over people that keep on getting third. I think that winning a tournament is kind of important, but I also mostly just think that losing to random people that are worse than you is actually the worst thing, when it, like, the most important thing when it comes to making a power rankings. That's a personal opinion of mine. Just because the whole concept of, if everyone participates and you just happen to randomly go against someone that you've never fought before and you lose, like, that kind of makes it unlikely for you to, you know, be on top. So we've got the number of wins here, and we've got the placements. And I think that we've stalled mostly enough already. There are really only 3 people that I want to even consider being number 1 in the community. And then one person that's just, like, knocked out, unfortunately, this year, that can't possibly be number 1, but we'll talk about them in at some amount of length. Oops, I don't want to look at the number of games head to head. But I have to wait for it to finish loading now. Really, the only possible arguments, I'd say, would be myself, Pi, and Mr. Puffy. It makes sense if you just look at the people that are eligible and then just sort them off of average placements. You know, they come up on top. And then, just barely not making the cut, I'm going to put as M Destroyer. And I've been kind of alluding to it this whole time, but really, M Destroyer had one bad day where he got, like, last place. And it happens sometimes. Sometimes you just have a bad day. And honestly, a lot of top players, that's when they just, like, say that they're not going to the tournament. Like, when you have top players that register for tournaments and then they just, like, don't show up, or they DQ after pools or things like that, like, that's mostly why they're doing it, is because they're not feeling good, they don't think that their play is good, and they don't want to actually have a loss that doesn't represent them very well. And so they would rather not play the game than lose the game. Come on, why aren't you going over? Okay, I actually didn't press over once, apparently. So that actually mostly is my thoughts on how the year is going, or how the year went, I should say. Everyone else, you know, had a variety of either consistently average placements or not very good placements, which is fine, because this community is completely stacked. It's impossible to, like, consistently be good here, because we're all too good. But let's take a look at the top 3 here and come up with some amount of order here. So first we'll start with myself. That's a good argument, maybe, that your worst loss might be Ibit and not Sonic, but that implies that you think that Ibit is a worse player than Sonic, and I don't think that the results actually show that. Like, I can just quickly go over kind of, well, they might show it. I don't know that they do, but, you know, Ibit has a worst placing of 5th and a best placement of 3rd. Sonic has a oh wait, no, never mind. Sonic has a highest placement of 3rd and a worst placement of 4th, and Ibit has a best placement of 3rd and a worst placement of 7th, which is pretty bad. That's a pretty bad lowest placement there. Sonic does have an average higher placement than Ibit does. You have to look at their head-to-heads as well. I know that it's like, so Ibit's like consistently losing to people that he's supposed to lose to for the most part, and then has this one outlier, which is you. Sonic is consistently losing to people that he's supposed to lose to, but also has wins over Indestroyer and has a winning record over you. And then Sonic is not losing to anyone that he's not supposed to be losing to. Yeah, okay. That's, yeah, your worst loss is Ibit. Like, I wasn't sure based on just looking at the numbers, but, or I wasn't sure just like by my memory, but the numbers definitely show that Sonic is just strictly better. Alright, back to what we were doing beforehand, before I got distracted. I get so easily distracted. Entered into 7 tournaments, got second 3 times, losing to Mr. Puffy twice, and to Pi once. And by once I mean twice, because I was double eliminated. And I think I was double eliminated here as well by Puffy. I'm pretty sure that my only losses are to Mr. Puffy and to I Like Pie, pretty sure. Pie, that's a low placement. How many entrants were in number 22? We had Jose that DQ'd, but there were 11 in there. That's really, really bad there. And we got Puffy here, who participated only 6 times. This is like consistently okay. Winning a tournament is good. 2 wins of a tournament, that's pretty good. Second and third, that's all pretty good. Has more tournament wins though, 4 tournament wins. But also has, what's it called? More tournament entries as well. Another thing is that when you were both in the same tournament, you traded on sets. Like, one important thing is like, you know, if everyone shows up. So this is pretty interesting actually to think about, because you placed higher than Mr. Puffy here, and then you had a while where Mr. Puffy was not here, and then when I wasn't here, you won. Otherwise, you were losing to me. And then you lost Mr. Puffy in this one, but then you beat him here. And then you lost here, and then you won here, getting first and winning the tournament. You didn't participate here. That's actually, it's going to be a nail biter there. Let's take a look at some of these head-to-head sets. I actually want to see what your head-to-head with Mr. Puffy is. Oh, you kind of crushed him actually. 4-1. Uh, 11-3. Yeah, actually it was not close at all. So if you had to fight each other, then there's a high chance that you would win. But the question is, would you get randomly eliminated from the bracket before you even got to fight him? Pie crushing people is nothing new. It isn't. The other important thing here, though, is Mr. Puffy has a strong winning record over me. That's my only losing record, is versus Mr. Puffy, and it's like a strong favor too. 2 and 4. It's almost like we got rock, paper, scissors. Like Mr. Puffy beats me, and then Pie beats Mr. Puffy. But I go kind of even with Pie. I mean, I was 5-0 until the very last tournament where he double eliminated me. And I'm going to say this because I know what some of the reasons are for that. You know, a lot of it was you played Cloud and I played DDD, and you didn't really use Steve until like you used Steve maybe twice. I think you used Steve in the last tournament, and then you like used him for one game of one tournament, and then you swapped off of him. But you know, we don't do asterisks here. There are some tier lists or some power rankings where they will say things like, oh yeah, but Axe was going Young Link, or Axe was going Falco, so it shouldn't count, or Mango went Captain Falcon, so these results don't matter as much. But you know, that's the risk that you have to be willing to take when you swap off. Like when I played Gunner instead of DDD, or last year when I did Aegis instead of DDD. Also, a lot of these games were Zelda, so it's not like a strong argument one way or the other. But I SD out before I got to fight Puffy. Oh yeah, you were saying that. Yeah, we had the same thoughts there. It's gonna be a tight one. Let's see. So yeah, you don't have any other losses other than just Sonic and Ibit. And Puppy kind of dominated all of his games, I think, too, right? Like, none of them were really that close. Well, they lost to CGP, though. Did you beat CGP? No, CGP beat you as well. These games were close, these games were not, or these sets were close, these sets were not. Yeah, completely destroyed Puppy. Very close versus M Destroyer. Also, Puppy was close versus M Destroyer. Barely losing record over Sonic in games. Mr. Puppy completely destroys Sonic. Puppy only fought Ibit once, and he just destroyed him. Pi usually destroyed Ibit and then SD'd a couple of times. I know that literally 2 of these are in tournament number 20, aka the best tournament that we've ever had. Yeah, that's about the same. This doesn't matter because you didn't play him. This doesn't matter because you didn't play her. Yo, man, you just destroyed little game. Yeah, okay. Equally dominant over John Dura, which is actually crazy to think. Like, the power creep is so real. Last year, John Dura was the 4th best placer on the power rankings. And this year, he enters once, gets a pretty bad placement, losing to, you know, granted, losing to 2 of my lieutenants practically. And then, like, he's so far down here. His average placement even was, like, lower than Chompers and Rin's. Go back to sets here. This is actually, I knew this was going to be difficult, and I only put in the numbers and colored the stuff. I didn't really I tried not to think about what I was going to actually say during the stream, because I wanted to, like, formulate my thoughts while I was here. I think it's going to have to just come down to head-to-head, which I think puts Pi over Puffy. Because, like, I know that the argument is, would Pi be able to reach Puffy? But also at the same time, Puffy does have some pretty bad placements. It actually literally has exactly one bad placement. Right? Or was that actually... oh yeah. No, I got it mixed up. It was actually I Like Pi that had that one bad placement at 5th. So Mr. Puffy got 4th at number 16 out of 6. So that's like pretty bad. That's like basically like you only beat one other person. And then Pi's worst placement was 5th, which is lower than 4th, but there were way more people in that bracket because that was out of 11. But it was really out of 10 because Jose DQ'd. And this tournament mostly was just CGP messing up everyone.
Serious injuries may occur. For your own safety and the safety of others, please refrain from...
Alright, I think that that's going to be the actual ranking there. I think I finally came to that decision. And it ends up just being the same as the average placements, which sometimes it isn't like that. It just so happened to be like that this time. Because last year, it was not like that at all. Oh. Just copy the text, please. There we go. I think this is what it's going to be. I wonder how that compares to the actual leaderboards for the community. Yep. Consistent with that too, although this is a little cheating because Pi is on here like 3 times, I feel like. Oh, only 2 times. I think Pi's on here twice, and I think that someone like Sonic is on here 3 times. I think. Because here's Sonic here, and then here's Sonic here as well. But I think that this is the Sonic of this year, and this is last year's Sonic. Alright, I'm going to give my honorable mention, obviously, to M Destroyer, who clearly has shown that he's so close, so close to breaking into the top. Let's take a deep dive into M Destroyer here. So M Destroyer last year got 1st place often. I think was number 4 in was number 5 in the community maybe last year. I could just open up the spreadsheet and see, but I'm not going to. 3rd, 2nd, mostly 2nd places, so many 2nd places. Only losing to the winner of the bracket in general. But did have 2 bad placements. Actually, I didn't, well, okay. Number 20 is weird, right? Number 20 is the tournament where everyone chose to go secondaries because I was going Gunner, even though they really didn't have to. Like, Gunner isn't even a secondary of mine, and I like actually was trying during that bracket. So this is actually M Destroyer's Pichu, but as I mentioned, no asterisks in this ranking. This one was actually M Destroyer's bad day, where a lot of people were like, wow, for the first time I beat M Destroyer today, this is so impressive. And I look at something like that and I say, okay, a player as consistent as M Destroyer, losing to multiple people that are like strictly worse than he is in one day, you probably should have just slept more, drinking more water, something like that. I don't know what was going on. Maybe he had like a stressful IRL day. But props to you for showing up in those conditions and playing it out. You know, if money were on the line, like if we were trying to get like sponsors and things like that, you know, maybe, you know, sit it out, but you got nothing with your pride on the line, so just show up and play. But yeah, lots of second places, lots of sets taken off of the top players, so to speak, including a winning record over Mr. Puffy, I believe. Yeah, winning record over Mr. Puffy, which is very impressive. I said that it was a rock, paper, scissors, but it's really more like Foursquare, I'd say. Because, like, I would basically always beat M Destroyer. And I think that's mostly just, you know, I think the DDD versus Kirby is unwinnable, especially when it's an ex-Kirby main that's playing the DDD. And then M Destroyer would be able to beat Puffy, and Pi would actually be able to beat Puffy. Puffy just beats me, and then I can win or lose to anyone, except I'm not going to lose to M Destroyer. Consistency versus results, just like last year. Sonic versus me, you favor Sonic's consistency. Well, I think that there's not really an argument for consistency on either case here. Because, like, you both have bad results. Like, it's not like for example, if Puffy had gotten, say, like, 3rd here, and you had gotten 4th, you would still have the same highs. You both have, like, equal highs, basically. Like, you've got... Puffy's got 3 wins. Or 3 tournament wins. 2 tournament wins, something like that. 2 out of 6 is pretty good. You have 3. 3 out of 9. It's pretty good. Like, this, literally, you both have the same number of results. And equal high placements, basically equal low placements. With the... Maybe I actually placed your win better than Puffy's because you got 5th out of 11, whereas he got 4th out of only 6. And then you also beat him in the head-to-head. The real blemish, mostly, is you losing to Ibit. But the question really to that, I'm going to say that, is that... what am I trying to say here? Is that the sign of a player improving, or the sign of a... is that a... what's it called? Is it really is it a bad loss, or is it a good, or is it the start of someone's career, you know? Like, Mr. R lost to this unranked 14-year-old kid several years ago. Just, like, double two-stocked, even though Mr. R was the second best player on the planet, and that random 14-year-old kid was a nobody. But that 14-year-old kid is now MK Leo. Also, he was MK Leo at the time. Like, at Genesis, J-Mook just, like, came out of nowhere and got a really great result, beating a whole bunch of people. And then, so the question is, like, is that everyone's worst loss, or is J-Mook actually just a top player that, or, like, not a top player, but, like, a high-level or a top-level player that's on the come-up? Same way with, like, Onin, or Quandale, or, like... what's his name? Kashmir, or Spargo. Like, at some point in time, you know, you gotta kind of, like, just say, like, well, if that was the only bad loss that you had, or not that was the only bad loss, right? Like, you had to look at if it's other winnings, right? I think that's really where I'm trying to get at. If you were randomly just losing to Ibit and no one else was losing to him, then that I think would be more of a blemish, right? So Ibit's beating you mostly. Only has one other set versus everyone else. Has a 4-0 win over RSB. It's like a strong, consistent showing. Losing to Min Min, that's kind of bad. And also, like, the numbers just show that he has really high placements generally. Granted, a lot of those placements he got by beating you, or but even still, like, he's I don't think that it's that bad of a loss. Like, he's only just behind Sonic. Like, if you take out Lietopia, who only participated in one tournament, like, you're losing to basically the 6th best player, which happens sometimes. Like, I'm losing to the 3rd best player. I actually have a complete losing record over the 3rd best player in my own list. So it's like self-consistent with itself, I should say. I want the best player to be a Ganondorf. That would be a huge flex. Would it? I don't know. All it takes is for someone to just be better. Like, someone at the level of, like, what's a good Ganondorf? Like, Esplat, for example. I don't know how many of you know Esplat. But they are a Rick, Nick, and Mercy viewer. And he's probably not as good as the 4 here, but I would probably put Esplat maybe like above Ibit and below Sonic. But he also doesn't play Smash like hardly at all. It's just like, that's just residual skill over when he was playing Smash. Now, if he grinded for a year or two, like everyone else in the community has been grinding the entire time, then I think that it could be possible for someone like him to be the best player in the community. And he mostly mains Ganondorf, but he also like does Shotos and whatnot as well. So I mean, it's just really a matter of skill. Like, none of us are anywhere close to being good enough for, tier list to matter that much. Now, granted, Ganondorf is a pretty bad character. That being said, I have a particular weakness to Ganondorf, I feel like, because I like to shield and jump, and Ganondorf is really good at covering both of those with one button. Oh, the best player in the world? Oh no, that's never going to happen. Ganondorf is never going to be the best player in the world, not even close. Like, not even top 100. Not even, I mean, they don't even do rankings past top 100, but if they did do rankings past top 100, I don't think that a Ganondorf could even be top 200 in the world. Like, they'd have to be so much better. No, they just couldn't do it. There's just so many, like, random, like, in the world, like, then you're talking about winning super majors. Like, you have to go through so many random characters and counters, and like for example, right, if I take Rosalina and Luma and I like do a dash attack canceled grab on Ganondorf, so he can't shield it, otherwise he gets hit by the grab. He can't jump or anything, otherwise he gets hit by the dash attack. Now I throw him off the stage with my forward throw, and then I just turn around and put Luma at the ledge and rapid jab. What is he supposed to do about that? He can't go high, I'll cover it. He can't go low, I'll cover it. Like you could just do that, as a whole strategy, and you could probably take a couple of games off of that, but using just that, just be the better player. I mean, Ultimate is a very balanced game, and it has the closest amount of balance compared to every other Smash title, but Ganondorf can't do it. I think it would be fascinating to get the best player of each character and put them on a PR. Yeah, that'd be nice. I think that's kind of an interesting one, because, you know, I always bring things back to Melee, right? But the best Mario in the world is Mango. He never uses Mario in tournament ever. That doesn't matter. It's Mango. He's the best Mario in the world. He, you know, it's so like, do you still put, who is actually the best Mario in the world? Is it AJ or is it, doesn't even matter. So that's the issue, right? Like, we've actually, I don't remember who the best Mario in the world is anymore. I used to know who it was for sure, but they actually Mario Ditto'd, and it wasn't even close at all. Because sometimes when there are enough characters and you're like a low tier specialist, the competition is so light that you can just like be the best player in the world. Zaki, I've seen him play. Well, I haven't seen him play. I've seen videos being uploaded of him playing in like Japanese weeklies. But the last major that I saw Zaki play at was like right after the shutdown ended. So that was like over a year ago at this point. But I think I saw him within the last month even. I mean, if you go to my channel, there I have a playlist of King DDD in bracket, and it's just like everything that I've saved ever from my subscription box. I should be watching them more often, but I don't really. It's more of like a ritual of just like compiling that playlist. But I think that there's something in there from him being in Sumabara recently. I don't know who the best active DDD is. I think there's a DDD in Georgia that is active and getting like top 4 in their weeklies, but yeah, that's not even close to like being good enough, I don't think, for to be up there. I think that there is a King DDD that is on the South Carolina power rankings. Or maybe it's North Carolina, I don't really recall. Somewhere up along the northeastern coast, there's a DDD on one of those power rankings. And it's north of Tennessee, I know. But that sounds like a question more for the DD Cord. Like, they probably know. And I'd imagine that the DDDs there are posting all of their results and trying to make a claim for the best now that no one else is playing or being active with it. I wonder if I have any other honorable mentions here. I think I do, actually. I want to briefly mention Lil Game as well here, because the numbers, the sum of the numbers tell a story, but also the order of the things also tells a different story as well. I want to say that Lil Game here is actually the most improved this year. Last year it was Chomper. But the little game here has mostly a bunch of 2-0s. And the gameplay, I remember from watching me editing, or I remember me editing the videos, that some of the early little gameplay was kind of rough. Yeah, it's just like all 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, 3-0, and whatnot. And then if you go towards the end of the year, the little game starts winning a couple of sets, like winning over M Destroyer. There's another one in here. Winning over RSB, winning over Jose. And that's pretty impressive, even though Jose DQ'd the next game. Like, he DQ'd and didn't want to play the rest of the set. But Jose was probably one of my best players in the Smash 4 days. They don't play the game like they used to anymore, so, like, obviously power creep is a thing. Like, you've seen how much the community has grown in just 1 year, but you know, going from being one of the best in both my and Bad Kitty's community to basically getting double eliminated in the one time that you participated. Also last year, Jose and Sonic basically went like 4-3 in sets. So like they were practically very close to being able to beat each other all the time, and Sonic was like a top 3 player in the community as well. So, you know, I'm just trying to paint a picture of like relative skill over time here. Yeah, that makes sense. Losing there makes sense. Another win over M Destroyer, but this is Pichu, but no asterisks. Like, he went Corrin, so he wasn't even using Byleth. Yeah, some of these earlier wins, like over Chomper and over Blooper, it's like, eh. But like later on, starts picking up some steam here. Little game is grinding like crazy. I was not confident in winning when I fought him in bracket 1 or 2 weeks ago. Yeah, I mean, I like. So another thing is RSB's early sets were kind of interesting because he was a Unite player at the time. He hadn't been playing Smash for like several months at that point. So I feel like RSB's performance and improvements at first were mostly getting him back to his 2021 level, and then he just went even further beyond and, you know, improved a lot compared to last year. Hey there, boring dude. And then the two of them together have been grinding a lot. Like, they play on Discord together. They play in other people's Discords. They, you know, show up in dominate lobbies. Now, granted, RSB was much better than Lil Game. Like, early, like, end of summer 2021 RSB was much better than start of summer Lil Game. Because Lil Game was never really a Smash player. He was, like, you know, mostly into Pokemon and fighters and things like that. Like, he played Smash, but, like, not really. So the level of improvement that we've been seeing is very impressive, I'd say. Now, if you're good at one fighting game, it's not that difficult to get better at another fighting game, but I still want to give the credit where credit is due. Yeah, the Byleth is pretty good. The Corrin's been pretty good. I don't have any faith in Corrin personally, but he makes it work. Your Cloud gets Honorable Most Improved? Is that even true? Like, were you, like, losing with your Cloud and then you started winning? Because I feel like, what's it called? If anything, I feel like your cloud got figured out, or at least in my like when you fought against me, is I feel like your cloud was easier to deal with over time compared to getting harder to deal with. What's playing right now? Oh, Portal. Okay. Oops. Get all my orientation there. All right. I don't think I have anything else here. Congratulations to... Oh, wait. I was going to do top 5? Really? Why? Okay. Let's actually try to do top 5, I guess. Why not? That'll be fun. It's very clearly that M Destroyer is number 4 here. Like, I'm not really going to discuss that much. Sonic is definitely better than Ibit. We already discussed that in every single metric that matters. So we gotta think about basically just RSB versus low game over Sonic. I don't think it's going to happen, but let's see if we can come up with an argument here. Nope, it's not happening. What was the other one? Low game? Low game actually has a winning record over just M Destroyer, which is actually pretty nice. That's a good one there. But never fought Sonic. They lose to each other. Worst losses to Rin, who Sonic never fought. The main issue is that Sonic didn't really participate much this year, so it's kind of hard to do head-to-heads, because like it would be nice to say something like, oh well, you know, Low Game lost to Rin, and RSB lost to Rin, but Sonic beat him like 4 times without any sweat, right? And that would be very convenient for me to do just looking at the numbers. Like, Sonic just clearly loses over Mr. Puffy, but has a winning record over Pi. But like even more than that, has actually has 2 sets over Pi. We only fought once. Beat Ibit, who was able to beat Pi here, and it's definitely Sonic. Like it's even just like looking at the colors. Like this is actually kind of an example, by the way. So RSB lost 4 times to Ibit. the one time the Sonic fought him, you know, he beat him, right? So if we have this huge bracket and Ibit's in there, there's a chance that RSB gets double eliminated or even just eliminated by Ibit. Only one game, only one set isn't really enough to really see how close it actually is, but I don't think it's close. Sonic 2-1 Ibit. It was actually pretty impressive. Ibit took a game. And then RSB over Ibit 3-8. And then low game over Ibit 1-4. So Ibit's not up there, but actually looking at his record, using his record because he participated so often and fought so many different people is actually very helpful for the rankings here. There you go, top 5. Myself, Pi, Puffy, M Destroyer, Sonic. It's mostly a shuffle from last year. John Duran mostly dropped. Mr. Puffy showed up for the first time. Pi moved up a rank compared to last year because Sonic was the #1 player. Sonic dropped 3 spaces. M Destroyer, I think, is the exact same place he was last year because John Duran was #4, I believe. So I just replaced one bracket demon for another. But the grind never stops. You know, you could find yourself up on this list next year. Next year we're going to do every other week for tournaments. So, you know, it'll be more friendly for people to participate multiple times. Or like missing a tournament won't be as big of a deal. Because we should have more tournaments next year, I think. We're going to start in like immediately after Memorial Day. So we'll have like, you know, 2 weeks and then we'll do a tournament and then we'll do that over and over again until Labor Day. Alright, I think I covered everything here. I'm about to end this stream and immediately start Final Fantasy XII. So I'm going to set up the stream to do that at this point. Yes, every other week over a wider time frame. So it'll be 3 months of every other week doing Smash tournaments instead of 2 months of doing a tournament every week. Because honestly, another issue is that it's kind of difficult, especially for like working adults, to just say every single Saturday, I'm just like not going to be free in the afternoon. That's not cool. Because what if you need to go grocery shopping? What if you need to, you know, go to the park or something like that, or visit a museum or catch a movie or something like that? It's not very convenient. So it'll be on Fridays and it'll be every other Friday. And I think that we should end up with about the same number or maybe more tournaments next year. Well, we don't have to worry too much about working adults around here. Anyway, thanks for watching, as always. And I will see you next time, which could be 5 minutes from now. Take care.